I'm recording now. I'm just going to do the intro. It might take a few takes because I've,
No worries, man. I know that life.
Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. With the launch of Season 8 on the 22nd of November to wide acclaim from the community, we will be diving into all the amazing parts, the good parts, the bad parts, and the shit parts. Spoilers, this will probably be the most positive episode yet. Captain Blubber has not developed a more generic accent because it is I, a Shiny Ray, hosting today, and I am assisted by my wonderful co-host.
Hello, it's Captain Blubber. If you want to still listen to a shitty Dutch accent, I'm still here.
And that's not all. We have a brand new, very special guest here that requires no introduction, but we'll make him do it anyway.
Hey, I'm Blurbs. I don't have as fun as the accent as you guys, but hearing these soothing tones live is super special.
That's very kind of you. Your accent's amazing. Don't play it down. So, Blurbs, thanks for coming on. I think it's been long overdue, but I think this is the perfect time to have you on. So, before we get into the nitty-gritty of it, we're on to begging for money quickly, and it's going to be a very short section. The poster is done and uploaded at the time of the podcast's release.
Is it? Is it done?
It's done. It's all uploaded. It's just going through checks, but they usually do it in less than 24 hours. Happy with that, Blubber?
Great. Where can people get the poster?
You can find the link to it in the pinned comment under this YouTube video. And if you're on Spotify, head over to a Shiny Ray's channel or over to Captain Blubber's channel. Look for this podcast and you'll find a link to it. If you can pick up a poster, it will help us out. And we'll continue to do it anyway, but breaking even would be nice.
Or use super thanks if you don't want a poster. You can also do that.
Okay, you can use super thanks as well. You should have put this in the script. I forgot about this.
And if you're poor or you don't want to spend money or you don't care, but you do care about us, you can always leave a thumbs up.
See, this is why Blubber needs to host all the time.
Give them a thumbs up.
Thank you, Blurbs. Give everyone a thumbs up here. Go to all the channels and thumbs up and subscribe.
Okay, we'll make a list. We'll make a list in the comments.
In the pinned comment directions.
Every guest we ever had.
Okay, so now that's done with. Blurbs, before we get into Season 8 and a little bit of Return of the Damned, we usually do our icebreaker questions just to get you warmed up. So this one's obviously going to be really hard, but what's your favourite game of all time, not including Sea of Thieves?
That's not hard at all. Funny you ask. Most people assume it's Sea of Thieves, and it's not. I honestly say my favorite game of all time, and this is a very, very weird choice, but Final Fantasy 11, which was like the first online Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. Growing up, my brother got into like the beta test for that, and so as a kid, being able to play that game before anyone else, and then continuing to play it for like a decade on and off. Was just some of the best like gaming memories I've ever had. Yeah, I mean that's got to be the top.
I'm honestly quite shocked because I expected like one of the Souls games or I don't know something else from you, considering what I know you've played on stream in the past. But Final Fantasy 11 wasn't the one they had to relaunch because it was so bad, was it? That was 14.
No, it was the one before that. Yeah. It was the first online one that they were testing the new waters with, and it's that first MMO, right? For most people that's World of Warcraft, and they've got all these special cozy feelings towards that game, but for me it's Final Fantasy 11 and just getting hyper obsessed with it as a kid.
That's awesome. It's a different one to what I expected, and I think unless you've talked about this on stream before, I think people will be quite surprised with that one. But you're actually the second person that said definitely not Sea of Thieves. The other one was Absolute Pixel.
Yeah.
I
mean, you play it every. It's in the top 5, I would say.
That's fair. If you said anything less, we'd have to kick you off.
Well, is what it is.
It's what it is. You know, Joni messaging you now, like saying, "Sorry, we're gonna have to let you go from the partner program."
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'm out.
Okay, so this might be a bit more of an easier question, or a bit harder actually, considering how easily you answered that. What made you make content on Sea of Thieves? Obviously we know you stream other stuff, like Deathloop, like Elden Ring, and I think you streamed Hitman as well before I've seen on there. But ignore that bit. If your main squeeze wasn't Sea of Thieves, what would it be in terms of content making?
That's so tough to answer because there's no game like Sea of Thieves. Ultimately, I would love to be able to play any game I want, but right now, the only game I've got my eye on is a little shout out for a game coming up called Deceive Inc. It's kind of like a spy versus spy Team Fortress 2 game. So it's got some kind of fun shenanigans like Sea of Thieves. It's a completely different genre, but I guess, I mean, if Sea of Thieves dies tomorrow, that's probably going to be my next stop, I guess.
God, I hope Sea of Thieves doesn't die tomorrow. My channel would be.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it doesn't either.
I think given season 8, we're in good stead in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, great answer. So in that case, why have I put 2 questions here the same? Oh, ignore that question. And this is just a really quick one. How long?
No. Because you did make 2 questions, and I know the difference. Because the one is what we can do if you didn't have Sea of Thieves, and the other one is how did you get started making content?
Yeah, you skipped the question.
No,
the script is null and void
you
now.
Suck at this, Ray. Man, you're a terrible host.
I do this thing called skim reading, where I read something but I don't actually read it.
Yeah, we can tell.
Oh, I'm a pro at that.
So, what made you make content on Sea of Thieves, Blurbs?
So my brother streams, and he got invited to the Twitch rivals for Sea of Thieves when they were like really pushing Arena, and I wasn't streaming at that point. I was just playing Sea of Thieves as a fan, and to participate in that event, you had to stream. I wasn't even an affiliate or anything. So I streamed it, and we ended up getting second place and winning like $1,700 or something like payout. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is pretty cool. And I had like super fun streaming it. Like, okay, I'm gonna just keep streaming it, and I just never stopped.
Was that over on Mixer then, or was it Twitch? You said Twitch rivals, didn't you?
Yeah, it was on Twitch. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So because I remember Microsoft used to push Mixer, and Blubber used to stream on Mixer back in the day. And now that obviously because Microsoft ditched that, it's all Twitch focused now. So I imagine that was around about the time that Mixer was being ditched, if I remember correctly.
Maybe a little. Actually, no. Yeah, around that time.
Yeah. God, that feels like ages ago now. It was 3 years ago.
I often forget it even existed.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good platform. I liked Mixer for what it was. It just didn't
I liked it too.
Just didn't have the market share that Twitch had.
They made one big move with getting Ninja, and after that, it just fizzled out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I remember, Blurbs, I first discovered you when your YouTube started taking that uptick.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're on about 1,000 subs when one of your videos popped into my homepage. So that's how you get discovered, isn't it? And I started making Sea of Thieves content on my channel then, and I just saw Blurbs go, boom, like hundreds of thousands of views.
I mean, YouTube and Reddit just took off, man.
Yeah, I think maybe it was from a Reddit post. No, it was definitely YouTube. And I remember, I think it was within like 3 or 4 months by that time, you'd got on Sea of Thieves partner because you just ballooned during early 2021, didn't you?
Yeah, I went full time in September 2020 because I was between jobs. I was like, I'll take some time off and try this streaming thing. And that's the point where I had time to make videos, because before then I was just streaming alongside a full-time job, and I never had time to actually do, off stream content. And so that's when I started it, and I hit the right spot of doing, people had already made guides for PvP and stuff, but being the only channel that was only PvP guides and just at the right time, right place, it just took off.
I think you're cutting yourself, say right time, right place. I think you're giving yourself too little credit there, because what you did with PvP guides is that they were concise, and it was none of this like bullshit filler, like trying to get 8 minutes out of a video. It was short.
And that was despite all of the tips I'd gotten from established creators. Like, everyone's like, you gotta hit like 10 minutes for the algorithm. And I am an impatient viewer. I am a professional at scrubbing through videos. So I was like, why am I going to make videos that not even I would watch? So I was like, okay, screw the algorithm. I'm just going to make these, 3-4 minute videos, give people what they need to know. And if it doesn't work, then that's fine.
For guides, you definitely need short short form viewing. I don't care what anyone says. All this algorithm, watch time, watch hours sort of shit. It's the content for the content, if that makes sense. You need to get the runtime right for what you want to say.
I agree.
But yeah, enough about boring algorithm talk. Blurbs, how long have you been PvPing for in Sea of Thieves?
Since the very beginning. Got into the alpha, as many people. It's a meme at this point because I used to start on my videos with that. You've even taken some cheeky shots at me in some of your videos. But yeah, since the very beginning, I remember seeing was it 2016 E3 trailer, I think, and just being like, this is my game. I signed up that day, eventually got the call in to go try out the game. And it was, been playing since.
Very good. Thanks for confirming. For anyone listening, I haven't taken shots at Blurbs. It's more of an Easter egg. Like
lies.
Sometimes you'll see a little cosplay of my character in a little sort of wish.com version of Blurbs' ship in the background. I had to use a recolor figurehead because I haven't got the original Bone Crusher one. But yeah, it'll usually appear in the video if I mentioned Blurbs. I think it appeared in my Season 8 review, but yeah, it was all light-hearted fun, and I think a few people sent it to you, didn't they?
Yeah. it kind of, my mentions were like, oh my god, you see the new Shiny Ray video? I had to go scrub it.
Do you think they were trying
I watched the whole thing, I'm sorry.
Do you think they were trying to shit star, like?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Rather than it's obviously in light-hearted fun. Well, people are like that.
Don't you think the listeners are a bit confused what you guys are talking about?
No?
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'll briefly explain the joke. So, obviously, Blurbs has mentioned that in his older videos, he said, I've been PvPing since Alpha, so you should listen to him. It's true. In one of my videos, I can't remember what it was. I think it was like a cosmetics video. My character appears in a shot in the same pose that Blurbs does in the start of his old videos, with the ship in the background, with like a wish.com version with like mimicked cosmetics, and I'm dressed up as his character. And yeah, people got a kick out of it, and it was like a little neat reference back to, I think I was talking about the Vanguard sails or something like that, because that's quite an iconic part of your ship, isn't it? And now whenever I need to talk about like Vanguard sails, or last time I think I said something like, with champion battles, solos can fight bigger ships. Now I'm going to finally meet Blurbs. Despite the regional differences, and yeah, I just inserted the shot again, so I'm going to get some mileage out of that joke. And
you use it as many times as you need.
Oh, it's going to be like a dead horse at this point. It's a dead horse now. Oh, okay. So is everyone warmed up? Is everyone ready to move on to the discussion?
Sure.
Yep.
Cool. So with that, before we get into the Season 8 juice, quickly, how do we all feel about Return of the Dam's results in terms of the outcome and the reveal stream? So Blurbs, we'll hear from you first.
Oh, me, the renowned adventure enjoyer.
We'll get to that.
Not surprised. Not surprised, indifferent. I think everybody saw this coming day one when all the beams in the sky were red on every single server.
In terms of that then, did you watch the stream itself?
I did, yeah.
Did you watch the Lost Sands one as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Do you think Rare did a better job this time round in terms of like presenting the results? And obviously we got that big reveal afterwards.
Answer is no, Blurbs.
I mean, it was, they had like the envelope in the first one, and like none of them even knew the results, which was kind of exciting. This one, I think they did fine presenting it. It's just, it wasn't even close. So, I mean, everybody knew it was going to be Flamehorp.
Yeah. So I guess the hype sort of goes down, and so does the need to draw out the attention. Blubber, you seem to have a different view on it.
No, not at all. I'm also pretty indifferent. Like, we knew it was going to happen. I don't really feel anything. It's like, oh yeah, I mean, I got riled up when the choices were there because I was hoping it was going to be close, but it wasn't. So yeah, whatever. I'm happy Flamehorp's back. I mean, I would have been happy with Arthur being saved. So there you go.
Cool. So we'll get on to adventures a bit more later, because I think we've all got a lot to discuss about that in terms of how they're affecting seasons. But we'll get on to the juicy stuff now. Season 8, we all want to talk about it. So
Finally,
yeah, a bit of a tangent there. Do we like Season 8 as a whole? Blubber, we'll hear from you first.
Oh, I love it. It's great. Like I really liked Arena, but as soon as I got all my commendations for Arena, I lost interest, and now I have a bunch new rewards and commendations to go for, and it's fun going for them because it's PvP. The only thing I don't like, and we'll talk about this later, is when you lose, you need to restock your ship, and that really hampers the flow. But that's my only real complaint so far.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Blurbs, how do you feel about it?
I've been waiting for this season for a very long time. I'm loving it. It does have a couple issues, but I do think it's probably the best update that Sea of Thieves has gotten since the anniversary update, to be totally honest.
So in terms of that, actually flows quite nicely. For the record, I love Season 8. I think everyone knows that. And I was literally counting down the days to this, even since before Season 7 dropped. It's fantastic. It does have issues, which we'll get to. But in that sense, then, Blurbs, you've answered the question. You think it's the best season by far, then?
Yeah, not only just for the PvP sweats and content creators, but in a game where you have to PvP whether you like it or not, there really hasn't been a better time to dip your toe in if you've never really given it a shot. If the bugs are ironed out, this is the season where you can safely try out PvP without feeling like you're going to get absolutely steamrolled. On paper. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, in terms of it coming at the right time, I think off the back of, I would say, very controversial season for Season 7 with all the bugs and, with milestones and no PvP content. And then you had that creep in with the community where PvP was toxic, and I think it was getting really worse right up until this update launched. Especially when you consider the last 7 seasons were all PvE focused. Look, that's not inherently a bad thing, but when we've waited so long for an update like this, it's even more sweeter when it arrives. In that case, then, Blubber, where would you rank it in terms of seasons? Then,
man, that's hard because it's going to be high, but I don't know if it's going to be higher than Pirate's Life, and it's kind of hard to compare those two because they're so different. It's like you said, one is PvE and lore, and the other is solely PvP. So how do you even compare that? But I did get more excited for Pirate's Life, and even for the future of Sea of Thieves. So I would say just behind Pirate's Life for me. Yeah.
I'll put it to you this.
I want to amend my answer real quick because I think it's worth noting. Blubber makes a good point. When asking if it's the best season, you really have to look at so many different things. And honestly, Pirate's Life, for the health of the game, could probably be considered the best season just from how many people it brought to the game.
Do you?
That's something I've been thinking about. Of like, yeah, Season 8's great, but Pirate's Life did so much for the game.
I think, I'm in two minds about A Pirate's Life. We'll go over it, but two things I really didn't like about Pirate's Life is that it sort of messed with the lore to a point where it was a bit tainted for me for a long time because of the crossover. And we didn't obviously get much Flameheart because of that. You got sidetracked. And that bleeds into how the story's told now. But the thing that I really didn't like is after those initial 2 weeks, the game really hit a brick wall in terms of engagement because there was nothing to do for the rest of the season.
Right.
And then you have that element of it's the Jack Sparrow Disneyland ride bleeding into the main game. And I think that's when you got a lot of PvE players, PvE only players come in and say, PvP is toxic. And I think it's always been a thing in Sea of Thieves. If you've been on Reddit for a long time, people have been like that for a while. But I think Pirate's Life incidentally made that is exaggerated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense actually, and also they didn't market that at all, and now they're doing it again. So let's hope people complain less.
I've seen a lot less complaining.
Good luck with that.
I think Season 3 had the surprise element where no one knew about it apart from Rare, whereas if Season 8 had that non-insider, all the bloody leaks that Rare did before, and all the loudmouth insiders that can't keep their trap shut. If no one knew about it, then we didn't have any leaks. That would be pushed over the line for me in terms of hype.
Oh yeah, for sure. people, oh my God, people would have literally lost their minds. I mean, with Pirate's Life, you have the same, just because people love Disney more than they love themselves. Mike Chapman. But you know, PvP, like just a super hype season drop like that with no preamble would have been incredible for most content creators, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm. That's fair enough. So Blurbs, you've answered this question again. You're very efficient. You think it's just behind Anniversary, so would you put that as like the second best update of all time?
I gotta say, I was looking through the script and I didn't realize I answered like 5 questions in one sentence. Most efficient guess so far. Yeah, no, it's definitely in the pantheon of Sea of Thieves updates. I mean, Anniversary was just so huge, because of how much content was in it, which Rare even said afterwards, we're never going to do an update with this much content ever again. But Anniversary was the milestone for me that I felt comfortable recommending Sea of Thieves at the $60 price tag to people who weren't just PvPing. Because when it launched, as far as tangible content, it was pretty bare bones. But after Anniversary update, we had the Tall Tales, we had Arena, a bunch of other little tiny things. That's probably always going to be the top for me. But Season 8 is very overdue. So I'd say it's a solid second.
Oof. Yeah, I don't think anyone would be remiss for like saying like it's interchangeable between the two. I think I know Blubber's answer, but what do you think, Blubber?
What do you think it is?
I think you still prefer Anniversary.
Yeah, that's true.
So predictable.
I also need a little bit more time with this, actually, because I've only done the galleon battles as of now, and I still need to do the sloop and brigantine to really get a feel for it. Plus, I haven't even seen the hideouts, so I don't really have all the data at the moment.
That's fair. And I suppose you still got to unlock all the cosmetics also, don't you?
Yeah, which I'm surely going for, yeah.
That's a positive for me, that we haven't seen that stuff yet. I haven't, really hit the grind to hit it, but knowing that there's these, they say it's the best environments they've ever designed, knowing I have that to look forward to in a PvP grind, I'm over the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes it better too, like as a season, because normally, like as experienced players, we do all the new stuff and we get all the commendations and whatnot. And in a week we have everything again, but we can't do that with this season. So eventually we have this new content in the way of these new hideouts that we can explore, and that's good for the longevity of the season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be the controversial one here. So objectively, Anniversary is the best update we've had. It's come off the back of 4 really good updates, and at a time where the game needed updates, like you said, Blurbs. Anniversary was like the big relaunch of Sea of Thieves, and it added like the new food, the fishing, arena, Tall Tales, everything people had really wanted. But in terms of my personal opinion, Season 8 takes the cake for me. It's the best update for me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
How does it compare to Arena then for you?
Me or Blurbs?
Me or, yeah.
No, it's Shane and Ray. I'm asking you.
So again, controversial. I didn't really like Arena, not to start off, and I enjoyed it towards the end when it was closing down, and I'd started my LSD grind on stream before. I did.
That's really legendary Sea Dog for any viewers.
Yeah, thank you.
Not that dumb.
Well, they could think something else. Get some new listeners from Blurbs' channel. Although I imagine what Blurbs viewers know what that is, but
I would hope so.
You would hope so, wouldn't you? But I liked Arena for all its problems, but I think Season 8 is better in terms of how I like to play Sea of Thieves. But Arena does a few things better, but it's on a sort of small scale, and it's nothing that can't be fixed.
Okay, because you like the adventure element to this then, or what?
Roleplay. I'm actually in Sea of Thieves right now. I'm into like the sort of roleplay element. Like at the moment, I'm sat on 27, and I've not touched Athena. I will do Athena, but I'm not touching it until I finish Servant.
Same.
And I just like see an absolute Chad on the podcast, way better than people like Blubber who support Pendragon, opening up old wounds there. But yeah, for me, I like the whole idea of representing a faction, and you dive out the waves and you get that awesome music, and you circle around and fight each other, and you're fighting for Captain Flameheart and you want to liberate the waves. I think that is just appeals to me as a more story player As much as PvP is probably one of my favorite things in this game, if not my favorite, the combination between the two is much better than being, working for DeMarco in a fake arena and pretending to kill each other.
If I could sidetrack for a second,
Yeah,
you mentioned RP.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't this the season that on the roadmap that had RP listed as a feature, right?
Yeah.
And I think Mike said that the RP was the curses, right? Being able to RP as that faction. Is that what you expected when you saw RP on the roadmap? Was just a new curse what you expected that to fall under, or did you think there'd be some more involved system for roleplay?
More like season 5's elements, like the speaking trumpet and the sleeping and sitting.
Maybe, yeah. But times 10.
Times 10, yeah. Like I was sort of thinking maybe custom servers would come out and people like play through, make sort of really good machinima movies or Sea of Thieves films, and giving the tools to do that sort of thing. It wouldn't be popular with the wider fan base, but I think with season 5 it added a lot of elements, or would have added a lot of elements for creators and really open up that creative space.
Yeah, I remember when Mike was like, yeah, we have these new curses, which is, the role play. I was like, oh, that's what he meant.
Well,
it's like, oh, okay, technically, okay, sure.
It also said new voyages, and the new voyages is the war map and the PvP, which is a push in my book, but they
a little bit
deliberately.
Yeah,
let's just hope the season 9 one is really vague and not what I think it's going to be.
I don't even remember that was like social stuff.
Options, yeah, for crews.
Just let me make. They should just make guilds or clans and then just watch the community tear themselves apart.
Yeah, just make this system, the servants versus guardians, make a couple more and make you pledge them, and you can't change them unless you pay a massive amount of gold.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That would be a cool RP feature. But
you get matched up versus other clans, and then there's a leaderboard of the top clans of who's the sweatiest.
God, you'd surely have like all the NAL players go together just to dominate.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, people think I'm like a sweat lord. I do okay, but I am not nearly on NAL level. I think NAL people would more likely flock to someone like Allcoop or someone like that, who he's got the NAL connections. I'm just swinging that sword around and just jumping off my boat over and over.
Maybe you could do like pioneers, get all the pioneers on your side.
Oh, all 3 of them? Yeah.
All 3 of them, yeah. So me, you, and who else?
And one random person from my chat that claims they still have the sales, but they haven't played in 3 years.
But still watch Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, exactly.
Blubber, anything to add before we move on to... I don't understand the next point, but... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I will, but yes, but before we do that, I want to ask Blurbs the same question. Like, how does this way of PvP compare for you if you compare it with Arena? Do you like this better, or do you like the way Arena did better?
So I actually learned a little something about myself with this game mode. So when Arena came out, I loved it. It was great at first, and what ultimately kept me playing was that glorious Sea Dog jacket. I am a self-described fashion snob in Sea of Thieves, and I was like, I need that. I don't care what I'm gonna do. I need that cosmetic. So I was literally playing arena matches back when they were 24 minutes instead of 15 on my lunch break between I had maybe 40 minutes off of my like corporate job. I would go home, play a match of arena, scarf down a sandwich, go back to work. I did that every day. And I think this is better, honestly, because giving people the option to just keep it very personal and be like one crew versus one crew than the shit show that kind of just was Arena, where you'd have these random ships. One is AFK, one is farming commendations on someone's boat, another one's just parked at the turn-in spot. Like, it was good on paper, but ultimately, as we all know, it didn't really pan out. And the biggest thing is that this is in adventure mode. So I think it's far and above, for me, way better of an implementation than Arena ever was.
All right. Thanks for that answer.
I agree with that. So for the record, Blubber, you prefer Season 8's system to Arena as well, right?
I'm not sure actually. I kind of liked it. Arena, just game mode aside from adventure, everybody has the same supplies, the same chances, but they didn't cash in on the potential of Arena. Whereas this season feels pretty much finished. Like I don't think something needs to be added to this system because it works just fine. So yeah, in the end, I choose this system. But I would have preferred Arena to be more enhanced. Yeah.
Cool, that's fair enough. And I'm going to take this over to you now, Blubber, because you've added this point onto the flow chart,
yes,
the itinerary, should we say? And I am absolutely perplexed by this. What is the bubbles? Explain to me.
The bubbles. Yeah, I added this to the script. The bubbles that come from the cannons when you dive under the sea. I just like them.
Is that it? I thought you were going to what's the lore of the bubbles, or why are there bubbles?
I had to cut it out of my review, but I was like, I'm going to get it in the podcast. I just love the bubbles. It's like this attention to detail that's so typically rare, and I just love it, and I want to mention it.
I didn't even notice that until...
I know. That is really impressive. Attention to detail there. You should have put it in your review just for the memes.
I think I remember seeing that on the roadmap, actually. Season 8, Bubbles. I'm glad they followed through,
They're probably like, is Bubbles a merchant or something? Or what was that? This one is probably more focused to, again, Blubber, you're taking this because I don't know what you want to bring up.
Yeah, I'll take it over. I'll put this other thing on the podcast as well, and that's the Cursed Chalice. And it's a lore thing. I know Blurbs is not really the guest for that, but whatever. I think it wasn't a deep dive. I think Preston told us that to get the Skeleton Curse, you need to drink from the Cursed Chalice. So this is just, another argument in favor of the chalice being the thing that causes the Skeleton Curse instead of the liquid. And that's it.
Okay, interesting.
Because he said it. He directly said it. It's the chalice. So there you
go. I think the jury's still out on that one.
I knew you were gonna say that. Like it's the word from God. As the developer says, it's the chalice. So, but whatever.
Well, we'll find out when we get to the lair, shall we? And I think that will settle it.
Okay. Well, I trust Preston now. Yeah. There you go.
For the sake of keeping things consistent. Blurbs, is the skeleton curse caused by the chalice or the water?
I've asked myself that every day, and ultimately, I'm gonna have to say neither.
Love it.
What do you?
What is it caused by? I have no idea. I can make something up.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's caused by the air given off by the Reaper tree. Is that the underground lava? It's lava.
You had it here.
Yeah,
first.
There you go.
If ever anyone confirms it's the lava, then Blurbs is the new lava.
That's the extent of my my theory crafting there.
Captain Falcor will be signing his channel over to you, and you'll have 2 channels: Blurbs Lore and Blurbs PvP. There we go. So that's fine.
That's it.
That's fine. We've done our lore. People will be asking about it, and now we're back to PvP.
We're done our part. People are happy. Let's move on.
No more lore questions, guys. So what's the community reaction been like from what you guys have seen then? Blurbs, will go with you first.
Oh, how much time do we have? So, I can rant about this one. I will say, going into it, there was less of at least a vocal majority. Like I expected more people to be complaining, but I think they really knocked it out of the park with the rewards, being that these 2 curses are arguably the coolest cosmetics we've ever gotten in the game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, along with the new environments, really got people hyped up and actually made people be like, okay, maybe I give PvP a shot. Maybe I give it a try. So I think on the initial announcement, the reception was great. I saw a couple people complaining about, wow, I have to PvP for this. This season's not for me. I hate this game, whatever. You're never going to be able to please everybody. The other half of that is the reaction in like how this season reverberates through the rest of the game, where a big concern everybody's had, I hope this isn't later on in the script, is if you sync someone just who's running an emissary doing lost shipment quests, are they then going to rage and say, go play Battle for the Sea of Thieves, Sea of Bones, whatever the hell this thing's called? Are they going to then consider you toxic because you sank them outside of this new PvP mode? That I've yet to see. I've heard people saying that, they've encountered a couple people like that. But overall, I think the community reaction has been great, but it is dwindling because of some of the matchmaking stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into in a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. I have seen a handful of Twitter dwellers, let's say, the bird app dwellers, which are the lowest of the low, versus Redditors. Sorry, Reddit. There's actually, I've seen a few on Reddit as well, but there's a few people that say, oh, I can't believe this is locked behind PvP in terms of the curses now. Basically, it sucks. Rare should allow PvE players to get to that. I say one. Almost all the rewards in this game are PvE focused.
But
especially after Arena's closure, and they would not feel the same way if I turn around and said, "Oh, I don't want to do 100 Legends of the Veils for the Ancient
exactly."
Sword. It would be exactly the same. So the game's a PvP VE game, and to get all the rewards, you need to interact with every part of it. Like, no one would bat an eyelid if I complained about the fishing commendations and stuff that I didn't want to fish, because it's part of the game. But that's the extent I've seen it. And I've seen some, you get these uninformed opinions like, oh, fix hit reg. We're past hit reg, saying we know it's an issue, or just sort of, I call them, they're basically dog whistles at this point, of the generic complaints about Sea of Thieves that everyone's sick of hearing. But outside of those two sort of reactions, and obviously some genuine criticism about which, we're about to get into, it's been overall probably the most positive I've seen a community react to a season, aside from maybe A Pirate's Life.
Yeah, it's mostly positive. A Pirate's Life, of course, everybody loved. I mean, who didn't want to sail with Jack Sparrow? It's been great so far. I do think the point you mentioned of people complaining about being locked behind PvP and all that stuff, it's not to go off too much of a tangent. It's just the general sentiment of having a lack of awareness of, like you said, how most things are already locked behind PvE, and being able to put yourself in the shoes of a different type of player, and just the general entitlement in a game that's cosmetic only progression of, like, I need to have everything, and if I can't get everything, then how dare you? The season reception overall much better than I expected.
Put it this way before we go to Blubber's view on it. Captain Flameheart's not going to let you drink from the chalice for selling 100 Captain's Chest, is he? This is not going to happen. He wants you to kill people. That's what he's about.
Yes.
Ramsey might let you if you sell him enough Athena chests, give him back his gold, but that's a different story. Blubber, from what you've seen on like social media and your comments, how has the community reacted to this?
Well, very, very positive. Like, the only negatives I've seen is people complaining about waiting times, which we didn't have for some reason, but apparently other people do. So I don't know how big of an issue this really is.
Yeah, I think we've got differing experiences across the board with the community there. We'll get onto it shortly. But Blurbs, you brought this up. Is everyone happy to move on from that point?
Sure.
Yeah. So you brought up this point and you touched on it before, Blurbs. Grinding to level 100 and beyond. How do we feel about not only this as being an incentive for the new PvP system, but do we think the grind is A, enough, and B, fair for all players?
That's a complicated one to answer. I think the grind. So, and we're getting back to the point of, are these rewards for everyone? And I don't think they are, because there are people who, no matter what, refuse to PvP and are going to be mad that this is a PvP season with PvP gated rewards. So inherently, these rewards are not for everyone, but for the people they are meant for, the people who are willing to put in the time to do PvP, no matter their skill level, if they're getting matched with similar crews, I think level 100 is great for the base curse. I think that's fantastic. I love the fact that there's golden versions at level 1000, because PvP really hasn't had any big grind for people to go for since the legendary Sea Dog weapons, and those aren't in the game anymore. So I love the fact that they still have a PvP grind for the long term for people to shoot for. I think that's fantastic. Now, I'm trying not to rant again, but I read pretty much every new post on Reddit, or at least look at the titles of them. And so many people are complaining that they think the level 100 is too high. They want the curse to be at like level 50 or something, which I think is ridiculous. And level 1000, they're like, I'm never going to get that. That's like, it blows my mind that people can't see the value in a long-term grind and wanting to keep people playing the game with, promising rewards of that caliber if you work hard enough for them. I've seen some complaints around that, but I think it's fantastic. I am a bit upset that the legendary curse, the PL curse, came back not reskinned and only at 105. I think that should have been at 500. First of all, I don't think it should have came back at all because, again, elitist snob here, but it was also a battle pass reward, and I think those should stay in the past. But I think 500 would have been the right spot for that one, but it is what it is. But overall, yes, the levels and rewards are fantastic.
Cool. I'll get onto the legendary curse shortly. Blubber, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's also an interesting point you bring up, Blurbs, because I kind of agree with you with the Plunder Pass and the Seasonal Pass. Like, those rewards, if you weren't there, too bad, you missed it. That's the nature of Sea of Thieves. Like, it's like bringing the Merrick's drum back. Like, who the fuck would do that?
Rare, apparently.
Yeah.
But I have to disagree with the curse, because I don't think the curse should have been in the Season Pass at all. The same with Flameheart's Head and Cutlass. Like, those are rewards that do not belong in the Seasonal Pass. So how do you look at that?
Wait, which curse in the past?
The legendary curse. Like, I felt that.
Oh, you're saying it shouldn't have been there to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I might be a little indifferent on that. I guess, yeah, it would have been better if it was outside of the past, sure. But I mean, the fact is, same result. I think it should have stayed an exclusive reward, whether it was in the past or not. That's with any game, especially ones that have battle passes. That, like, I'm sure it's pretty common that if you miss that pass, then you miss those items. And in a game where there's no stat progression as far as getting stronger or getting better gear or anything like that, literally the only way we have to show progression are cosmetics. And so by giving out the stuff for veterans who are there season 1 to get that, you're just kind of flattening the levels that people can show off and show their veteranship, and it's just not great. It's I say it on my stream all the time. It's the Incredibles quote: if everybody's super, then nobody is. Like, that is the best way to describe the people who complain about exclusive cosmetics.
Right, fair enough. Yeah, I'm harsh on this, but you're just a tad harsher, I guess.
Oh yeah, I am the harshest on that, and I have zero. I'm not going to apologize for it. I think bringing stuff back is horrible. I wish they would stop it.
I think I'm the middle ground between the two of you here. So I agree with Blubber that it should have never been released as a season pass reward. Like, it was silly to do so, and I think Rare did it deliberately to prop up a weak season. No offense whoever made that, but it was clearly a monthly update. And it got people to log on. But they did it, and they made that mistake, but don't bring it back. Because now, when I see someone with the legendary curse, I look at them and say, oh, how did they get that? They might be level 105 in Athena. They may have done a really easy season pass in season 1. But when I see someone with the Vanguard sales, I know they're a pioneer. I see someone with NAL sales, I know they won the Galleon tournament. Shark Hunter scars. I don't like the idea of that I have to guess how that person got the cosmetic, because it defeats the point.
Yep, and that's a great point, because I use the PL curse because it's so bright and visible to be like, okay, whoa, hold on. That person's they at least played in season 1, so they're not a brand new player. I should be a little bit on guard when I come into this fight and maybe play a little bit defensively to see how good they are first. But now that's completely null and void. If I see it, I don't know if they, right now that's still viable because not many people are level 105. But in the future, that's gonna be like, well, have they just been grinding that out, or have they been playing since season 1?
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a shame that we're not gonna be able to do that anymore, at least with that specific cosmetic.
I think it bleeds into another issue that really annoys me of Rare is that they pick and choose what's exclusive. And they'll say the season pass rewards are exclusive, but the other ones are coming back, and we'll say so. And that's their prerogative because it's their game, of course. But like, I would be really pissed off if Rare turned around and said everyone can earn the Wailing Barnacle ship set, or the, let's say, the Wandering Reaper stuff, or, you know, oh, NAL's finished. If you get to level 20,000 in the PvP system, you can have the sales. Like, where's that energy for some things and not the other? Like, is it all exclusive or is it not exclusive? Because it's annoying to pick and choose. And I guarantee you, and this will bleed onto the next topic, with Flameheart's hat and sword, because they should have been Reaper rewards, they'll be brought back in the future behind some commendation. And now the legendary curse is back. People can say, why aren't you bringing back the Ferryman figurehead or Suds' jacket? Because it's exactly the same concept. And Rare doesn't have a leg to stand on with that, and you've just given people a platform to basically beg for anything now.
It's just enabling it. Yeah.
Despite them saying they were going to bring it back, and I also don't agree with people saying it's entitled for us to demand exclusive cosmetics for when they're around, because I think it's entitled to demand you should be able to earn something that you weren't around for.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That's the definition of entitlement.
Yeah, it's paradoxical, isn't it?
Right. And thinking that it's not is just even more entitled.
They should have brought it back without the chest mark, and it should have just been the eyes. And then,
or just make it a different color or something. Nice.
Yeah, just, you know, that way people who originally had the curse stays exclusive, and then they can get the new variant by playing the game. Simple as.
I do think I will give Rare some credit. I do believe, like you said, they did from the beginning say we are going to bring this back at some point. Mm-hmm. So at least they were clear on that front. But if that was their original intention, then it definitely should not have been in the past. Mm-hmm. It should have been somewhere else.
Well, they brought back the Eastern Wind weapons, didn't they, for season 1? The sniper, wasn't it? It was the sniper in the past, I remember, and maybe it was season 2. But they brought it back with the set. So when they finally reskin the next Wailing Barnacle to the Moonlit Barnacle, is the hat coming back, or Ruby Stinger stuff? You know, it's just never ending. But yeah, tangent over for that one, unless you guys want to add anything else.
No, I could rant about exclusive cosmetics all day.
Let's go.
Let's go. Cool.
We can go.
So this is one that I really wanted to bring up, and my frustrations were aired before it came out. I can talk about it now because it's out. But Athenas get far more cosmetics compared to the compared to the servants. They get the Magpie's Wing ship set, the rest of it. They get the whole Green Ghost set, which we've known about for about 4 years now. They've got the Mysterious Stranger clothing set. The gloves are wrong as well. They got the Gold Ghost curse, the Ghost curse, and the Legendary curse is back. But Reapers just get the Skeleton curse and its customization options. And if you look at the past, the Reaper, it's all Reaper themed. It's Flameheart's hat, Flameheart's sword, and the Curse Bone set, which is inspired by Flameheart. It's even his bloody beard in there. Would we have weight to say that those Reaper cosmetics were just taken from the commendations and popped in the past? What do you guys think?
Feels like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, for me, I think that's exactly what happened. And I think the same happened with the Season 6 Fort commendations, because they're all Spanish themed. And they just took what they had planned, put it in the season pass. They probably had them done for a while and planned. And I think
0 rewards too. Like not a single commendation unlocks something for the forts.
Exactly, not even a ship set. And I think the one that rubs me the wrong way is the Magpie's Wing. And this was the perfect opportunity to bring out the Burning Blade ship set to mirror that, because they literally have one piece as well. They have the sails and I think it's the cannons originally. They could have brought both those ship sets, and I think it'd be more equal then. But they just didn't. And they said this is the most we can do with the cosmetics here. And I'm going on a tangent, but I think you guys might agree. The Pirate Emporium gets, 14 ship sets a year? But we can't squeeze out the Burning Blade ship set for Season 8. Even that.
I do think it would have been a good idea to mirror the ship set for sure. Though, is that in my head, they developed the Skelly curse with all these fun customizations and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then maybe realize like, oh, well, we can't really do that with the Ghost curse because it's just a skin applied to your pirate. So to compensate, they added the mysterious stranger stuff and all these other things. And yeah, like numerically, it's more than the Reaper side. But I think the fact that the Skelly curse is so unique and such a new thing, and being able to customize a curse is a completely new feature.
Mm-hmm.
I think those kind of outweigh just the sheer number of I don't think it needs to be a 1-to-1 on numbers, because the Skelly curse is so unique that I'm okay with them having extra on the Athena side. But you have a good point about the ship. That probably should have been mirrored.
I think it makes even more sense when you consider that. I think I would agree if the Burning Blade ship set came out as well for those like plus 100 rewards, whatever the Magpie's wing is, I think it's up to 200. You'd even have it be Flameheart's second ship and Ramsey's second ship. It's like perfect alignment. And they just didn't do it. And I think Louise Roberts, who's in charge of these cosmetics, has replied to someone saying that she's seen the ship set, but they obviously have a plan for it. But
you're calling out names. You're coming for them.
Yeah, I've got receipts, Blurbs. I've got receipts when it comes to cosmetics. But
watch out, Louise.
Yeah, look, I'm coming for you, Louise. I'm going to be begging you for cosmetics now. But yeah, you could have easily put things like Flameheart's jacket or the Servant's jacket, things like that. Blubber, do you agree with our points on that one with the Reaper cosmetics?
Everything you said, I agree with.
Cool. We won't get into the Pirate Emporium because we could have a whole podcast on that. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in terms of the cosmetics? I suppose we got the quick one here, which we already answered, but we're all okay with the new curses being locked behind PvP, aside from that little asterisk with the legendary curse.
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool. Now, where do we want to see this new mode go next? So, do we want to see new factions, rewards, like an expansion of like 2v2s, 3v3s? Where do you want Sea of Bones to go next? We'll start with you, Blubber.
Well, to be honest, I'm not even thinking along those lines at the moment, because there's so much still to do. Like I'm not even thinking like that. Like, obviously, there is a risk that it will die down, so you do need something. More rewards would be cool. You can lock those behind accommodations, like even retroactively. That works really well in the past. They've done the same with the beards. I think that's a great system. You can increase the level cap because it's already 1,000, so that's fine. I don't need that anymore. Events would be cool, like, or this weekend you earn double gold, or this weekend it's the Reapers versus Athena weekend, and whoever wins this weekend will decide the next cosmetic type for the week after, and stuff like that. I want to see stuff like that.
Yeah, I really like the idea of the events. I guess I think the answer is going to be similar to you, considering what we're about to talk about. But Blurbs, what do you think about this? Where could the mode go next?
I've actually thought about it a good bit. I think it's super important that they continue to support this mode. With all the arena stuff that happened, the biggest complaint is that people say Rare didn't give arena enough love. That's why it died. I'm of the belief that, their love went into making that base version of arena. But once that hype died down, they didn't even have the numbers then to warrant, giving it more attention and all these other things. But I would hope that with this new mode, they can take what they learned from that and try to keep this Sea of Bones, whatever we're calling it, fresh. And I think the best way to do that would be each season add some kind of new rewards, maybe each season you can add like a modifier to the battles to make them slightly different, whether that's something environmental, maybe at one point we try a circle that closes over time, which I'm against, which I've seen people suggest constantly. I don't think that's a good idea, but maybe as a modifier one season, just to keep it fresh, keep fresh rewards, because they are definitely going to have to keep people playing outside of just that level 1,000, top reward. They are desperately going to need to keep this mode active, especially with how much they've worked on it. They want people to keep playing it. So I would be extremely surprised if they don't iterate on it moving forward.
So that's a really good point. I think the issue with Arena is that the people who made Arena were a third-party company, and it wasn't anyone in-house's vision, as far as I understand it. Whereas this seems to be Andrew Preston's almost concept and he's followed it through from pitch to, well, even the feedback he took from partners and stuff, and how much he took that on board and improved it. And he took this update from his concept, which was brilliant, to a damn near perfect update, and literally a top 3 update, I think, in anyone's book, unless you hate PvP. If that's the case, don't play Sea of Thieves. But
amen.
What I would like to see, and I think Andrew's going to carry on with this, is mainly for me is new rewards. I think you can always bake some at least Reaper themed rewards and Pirate Legend themed rewards behind this, because it's got that scope. And I want to see new factions as well with the Dark Brethren in GMU when they finally come to the seas proper. And then you've got like 4 factions you can match, or 3 other factions you can matchmake.
I like that, yeah.
Purple for Dark Brethren, and I think what color for the Sovereigns? Yellow for the Sovereigns would be cool. But most importantly, and we're going to get into this now, we've been teasing you for far too long, they need to iron out the kinks that are in it currently.
Yes.
Because it's not in a bad place at all, and this isn't from a place of negativity, but there's some things that need to be sorted out to make this 100% perfect and as smooth as butter, and we're not quite there yet. So that segues me onto the next point. Guys, are blunderbombs too powerful in this mode?
I think that's a pretty universally. Well, the thing is, I haven't seen a ton of that in solos because I've only really done solo queues, and I've seen it a little bit, but I've heard across the board, not only from partners, but from the community, that the meta in, maybe Brig or Galleon battles, I'm sure you guys can say more on this, but just spam blunderbombs. I think the community feedback on blunderbombs has been way too extreme that Rare is going to have to tweak them in some way.
Mm-hmm. So I'm in two minds here. Like, for those who don't know what the issue of blunderbombs is, since Season 8's come out, so is the sort of uptick in PvP encounters. And from what I can tell, I've managed to play on all 3 ships as well, not solos yet, actually. Blunderbomb spam has become the new meta as soon as you start winning games, because the higher you go up, allegedly the better skill level you are, and the more people know about blunderbombs. So if you don't know, if you get shot by a blunderbomb, out the cannon I mean now, and it hits your ship, it will knock people off the cannons. If it's close, it can do up to 50% damage, and it will rock the ship as well, and this will knock people out of broadsides, and it can knock people into broadsides, let's not forget that.
Or off their ship.
Yeah, or off the ship, which is a big issue. I haven't been knocked off yet by it, not to the sense where I can't get back on. Sorry, what were you going to say, Blubber?
Yeah, sorry. And to stop repairs too, right?
Yeah,
right.
So
that's one of the main reasons why you use blunderbombs.
Yeah, so people on repairs, on cannons, bucketing, you get knocked
on
around.
Camping.
Yeah, spawn camping as well. It's just really frustrating to play against if they keep hitting them. But where I've played, the Galleons is really annoying on Galleon. Brig is okay. We had some blunderbomb spammers, but nothing we could deal with. And on sloops, we also played against some blunder spammers, but it was basically useless because of the knockback changes on the sloop. I think Rare will do something about it, but they won't do the right thing about this. I think they'll do something like the Curse Cannibal changes and make them rare. I think you shouldn't be allowed to shoot them outside of your cannons now. I think that's controversial, but they will remain their potency in a boarding action or PvE, but you don't get the stupid spam where, you have to use cannons now to knock people off of like the mast and the repairs and stuff like that. How would you guys feel about that?
I'm kind of torn. I think I've heard people say that you shouldn't be able to shoot them outside of a cannon, and oh man, it's there. The chain shot blunderbomb 1-2 is like classic, but the more I think about it, and I would hate to lose that ability. So if you don't know, you chain shot someone's mast, and then when they're going to try and catch it to pull it back up, you hit them with a blunderbomb. They get knocked off, the mast drops. So that's like the go-to strat. Removing that would be a pain, but also that would increase the skill ceiling of. You would then have to just use a normal cannonball, which you have to be deadly accurate to hit that sail length control. Rather than the blunderbomb, you just hit the ship, in the general area, they're going to get knocked off. So that would actually increase the skill gap, which I'm definitely for. I don't know how they solve this problem. I would hate to see blunderbombs become more rare, because I think they are one of the best tools in the game just because of how versatile they are. and I don't really spam them a ton. I just use them in multiple different scenarios because they're just incredible. But yeah, I guess preventing you from shooting them out of your cannon might be the way to go.
I think for me, I don't want to see that the blunderbombs become as rare as cursed cannonballs, or you be limiting to one of them, because they're really useful for boarding, and I think they're really balanced when you're using it for close encounters when you're actually PvPing people. I love blunderbombs. I think they're great, and I always have 5 of them when I'm boarding or people board us. But yeah, those last 2 Galleon battles, I've done about 13 matches so far. The last 2, the blunder spam was a pain in the ass. And I think it does lean into the fact that I don't want to call anyone unskilled that's fought me, because if you lost to me, you're probably unskilled. I'm joking. But yeah, I think people lean into it too much, and yeah, I'm in 2 minds about it. I don't know what Rare's going to do.
It could just reduce the size of the area of effect.
Yeah, that's true. Or reduce the damage and knockback when shot from a cannon.
Yeah.
Or maybe the rocking element. There's so many things they can tweak, and it's going to take time. Blubber, would you be happy with changes where you can't shoot the blunderbombs out of you can't shoot blunderbombs out of cannons?
No. I want my blunderbombs.
I don't want to lose them either.
Also, yeah, like this is a bigger issue than I have experienced, so maybe I'll change my mind later. But if it's really that annoying and it keeps happening, yeah, maybe what you guys suggested, like a little bit less range, a little less knockback, stuff like that, a little less damage. But I need to play more to really form an opinion.
We're planning on queuing tomorrow, aren't we, for Galleons, hopefully, if we have everyone on. I think your opinion's going to change once we get to about streak number 3.
All right, we'll see.
We don't spam them a lot, and we still win fights, but it's just, yeah.
We don't need them.
We don't need them. We're that good, but it is like a blunt instrument. In the same vein, then, and I think some partners have pushed for this, and I think I was initially upset about these changes, but in practice, I love them. Are we happy with the new changes to cursed cannonballs?
Yes. Blubber, you want to go?
Sure.
Blubber, you go first.
Yes, it should have been there from the first place. Like the times, I need to play a little bit more with the reduced times for the green balls, but only having 5 of them at a time per player, I think that's totally reasonable.
I think the rarity has helped a lot as well. Blurbs, how do you feel about this? I know you primarily solo, and they're quite a powerful tool, and you did make a video on this recently, didn't you?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I was never super passionate about these needing to be changed, although I see why. I do think they were a way to actually the reverse. I think is a way for smaller crews to be able to compete with bigger crews, which on the flip side is frustrating for the bigger crews, because like, okay, we're better than you. You're a sprue. You just got lucky because you found these cursed cannonballs. I'm okay with the changes. I think being able to hold 10 of them, which is double the amount, like you have double the amount of things to shoot, 10 cannonballs, 10 curses, is probably pretty ridiculous. So I'm okay with the size constraint, and making them more rare. Yeah, that's fine. I do like a bit of goofiness and RNG and stuff, which I know a lot of competitive people don't want any of that. Mm-hmm. But overall, I think they hit a good balance on the changes.
Yeah. Like I said, in practice, they're a lot better, and they feel more like power weapons now. So we had a ballast ball in I think it was our 4th game ever. We came against this really good Galleon. They really chewed us up at the first half of it. But they started running out of supplies, and they went for a board, 3 of them. And we managed to repel the board. They were really good players, but we're obviously just much better. And we managed to both get anchored, but we were facing them and they weren't.
Right.
And 3 of them were dead. We had a ballast ball, just 1. It was our only cursed cannonball, and we used it at the exact moment. They hadn't repaired their upshots. 3 of us were alive, and only 1 of them were alive. And when they got hit with that ballast ball, it was just game over then. And that brought...
if you're not repairing your mid deck, then you deserve to sink.
Well, yeah, there's an argument to be made about that, isn't there? But using that at an opportune moment made it feel much more as cursed cannonballs are intended, rather than hitting 10 at the same time right at the start of a battle and just ending it.
For sure, there's strategy with it. It's not just, oh, RNG, I get an instant win card. Like there is strategy in knowing which ones to use and when, and making them less common just makes that even more important.
Yeah, especially it was like a 15, 20-minute battle, and using it right at the end just to decide it was just really satisfying, and it made me much more positive about it. I'll probably hate them as soon as it's used against us like that, but I do remember testing this. Yeah, it's out now. We can talk about it. I do remember testing this on Insiders, and curse spam was a pain in the ass against, because crews would just stack loads of them and you just get curse spammed, and it just made it for not a nice time. But I think, yeah, overall, we're all happy with the curse changes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Cool. So this one I wanted to pick up with you, Blurbs, because I've seen your tweets and you primarily solo queue. Forgive me if I don't think you've queued any other queue yet, have you?
I played like 1 or 2 duo matches with my brother, just very goofy, not taken seriously, but yeah, like complete solo queue.
So from what I can work out of your tweets, the skill-based matchmaking for solos is all over the place. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah. So, and this is a pretty hot topic right now, because first I just want to say, for anyone listening, I am not a competitive player. I don't think I've ever played ranked in any sort of like Apex or any of those games. I go full casual. I'm just playing games to have fun. So this has honestly been my first time trying to learn all these things and how typically skill-based matchmaking works and all these types of things. But it's clearly either not kicked in yet, because it has to take time to gather that data to be able to match you with people, or it's just straight up not working, because 99% of fights, at least in solo queue, are against people who pretty much seem like this is, maybe the first time they've ever even tried solo slooping, period.
Right.
And it's just, it feels weird to say. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but this is my job. I do solo PvP every single day. I should not be fighting that type of pirate, right? And it just feels bad. They need to fix this ASAP, because the people who are trying this mode for the first time, who don't normally PvP, if they're like, oh, I'll give it a shot, let me queue up solo, and then they get absolutely dunked on because their skill-based matchmaking didn't work. And granted, they do have to actually do battles for that data to be gathered, but depending on how long that takes, or if it's not working correctly, they might just give up on the whole feature. Oh, this isn't for me. I'm never going to win. This guy killed me within 30 seconds, which literally is happening constantly. Like on stream, 90% of people just immediately go for a ram, and just you get 2 cannonballs on them while they're trying to ram. You jump off your ship, you board them, kill them, and drive them out of bounds. It's a joke. I wish we got some kind of clarification from Rare. I mean, we know it's a win-loss ratio, but we don't know if it's working as intended, because the answer to your question is no, it is not working well at all.
I see Flotsam had a tweet similar to that where he was...
Oh, Flotsam's been on a...
Yeah, I saw he was quite humble bragging with his tweets. He's saying that he's smashed everyone to pieces. He's either a god or he's getting the same experience to you.
He is a great player, and I've been watching him constantly, but and again, you have to remember, this is not people necessarily trying to brag. These are streamers who do this as a job every single day. He has been refusing to do it because of that exact reason. He doesn't want to scare off new people to the feature that are just going to get decimated within 30 seconds. So he strictly has been doing only like challenge modes where he's like playing with his keyboard upside down or playing with a controller. He's just adding all of these ridiculous challenges on top of it to try and make it more fair, because the skill-based matchmaking isn't working. There are definitely players that are out there. Like, we've had some good fights, but they are not often like at all. So it's hard to say whether these are people trying this for the first time, or maybe this is, I've heard that some of these people normally play in a crew. Like, there might be some NAL players who are queuing up solo who never play solo. and are then getting decimated because they just, it's such a different environment.
Yeah.
So most of the solo PvP exclusive streamers I know are just completely decimating the queues, and it needs to be addressed before it scares off everybody, because most new players are going to queue up solo because they're not going to go out and find a crew to try the new mode if they're just like, oh, I'll just give it a shot. You know, you're going to queue up by yourself just to dip your toe in and see how it goes, and it's a mess.
I think I know that's just a small sample size, but I think your experiences as solos has been very different to mine, who hasn't played solo yet. That's going to happen soon. And Blubber, who's just queued on Galleon. Blubber, what's your experience of the skill-based matchmaking been like? Because I actually haven't had a proper chance to talk to you about it yet.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, we get in pretty evenly matched competitions. Like, every now and then we have an easy sync, but no, it's pretty evenly matched, yeah.
So mine's different to that still, and different to yours as well, Bleb. So the first 2 matches we had on the Galleon, they were really easy. They sunk like in 10 seconds. It wasn't 10 seconds, it was like a minute. And then our third match was really sweaty, and so was our fourth, and so on. Then when I queued on a brig, all my matches were sweaty from the get-go. And when I queued on Thursday with duo sloops, both the players who were on the other team were far and beyond better than me, at least in PvP. That being said, I haven't lost a match yet, so are these players better than I think they are? And I'm underselling myself, maybe, but
probably
all of these fights have been really tough fights for me. Well, not tough fights, but they've felt evenly matched.
Yeah. You need to be alert, right? Like, you can't just not pay attention. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's true. Like, our first duo sleep fight, played with my crewmate Vlek, who's, I think Blubber can vouch, is a very good player. He's definitely better than me and you. And he's just a solid crewmate. But me and him have a very good synergy, and we were pants down with our mast and stuff down and loads of holes, but we still managed to beat these guys just turning. And is that me now saying we're better than we are, or the people just not as good as we think they are and they got lucky on us? I'm gonna have to play more of the system, but from what I felt in how other people play, they feel on my skill level, if not a bit better than me. So with that being said, it obviously isn't working if we're all having different experiences. Am I right?
Right. I mean, my sound kind of got messed up, so I hope my mic's not too loud. I think it's clearly, it's everyone's experiences have been vastly different. I think even like the fact that I'm queuing against someone with a sailor title who is in the sailor cosmetics with a default ship that's not captained, who doesn't even hear me boarding them, means it's not working. Yeah. And that's, on day 4 of the feature. But the question really is, and again, we need more info from Rare publicly to know whether this is working or not, is that as far as I know, it's trying to match you with someone of a similar skill level. And if it can't, it's just trying to get you any fight, which this ties into matchmaking stuff, which we'll talk about. But
well, that's
is it the fact that it can't find anybody on your skill level because not enough people are playing it, so it's just giving you a new player? Or is it bugged? That's the big question.
Yeah, it's interesting because we'll move on to matchmaking times now. I've had one long wait time. It was about 5 minutes before we got a match, but we did get it. That was the sweaty Galleon fight. All the other ones have been instant, apart from one where we queued and we waited for 10 minutes and we never got a match. So that brings up the question again, Blurbs. Is there just no one playing in our skill level? Surely it would expand the skill level when we queued on that brig. Or were we just not going to find a match ever because it was bugged at the time? We don't know. But in terms of matchmaking times, Blubber, yours has been pretty much instant all the time, hasn't it, from what I can remember?
Yeah, just once we need to wait like 5 minutes.
That's about the same.
And I do find myself annoyed by that. Like, I get annoyed at loading time, so I know it's just a fault of mine.
Oh no, it's on demand. You're that's what it's been pitched as.
Yeah. That's the thing I struggle with. I can't believe there just isn't people in your skill bracket across the whole of Europe on a brig or a like skill rating for me to have to wait 10 minutes and just back out and end our session there.
Would you rather wait like another 5 minutes then for a skill battle, or do you want to go instant against a swabby?
Right.
I'd rather go instant if it's taking that long.
Yeah, same.
We should not be sacrificing like for like skill if we're gonna wait 20 minutes for a match, let's say.
Yeah.
Because
And
it might be different for you, Blurbs, because if you're streaming, you want people to have good fights, or you want funny
Right.
players, or what have you. But
We want commendations. I mean,
yeah, I want my curse. What's your view on that? Would you rather better fights or shorter matchmaking times?
So this has been something I've kind of recently flipped on where, well, first of all, with the matchmaking times in solos, I typically have been getting decent, like pretty quick times. But yesterday I sat there for like 20 minutes, unable to get a fight. And then I think I finally got one. And then after that one fight, they were instant. There was no gradual increase with my, my region or anything like that. It was like 20 minutes without a fight, and then 2 hours with just instant fights.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't feel natural. That feels like a bug in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were even looking at Steam charts where it was like, okay, there's like, 20,000 people playing on Steam right now. And it's like, okay, well, there's so many buckets for this feature because it had, someone in my region, someone who's queuing solo, someone who's in the opposing faction, and then someone who's on a similar skill level.
Mm-hmm.
But even if they're not, just anyone that's, checking all those boxes, I'm not able to find a fight in 20 minutes. That does not feel right. And the scary thing is to think, oh, that is right. There's just nobody playing this feature. And I as a partner, I don't even know from Rare if this is broken or if just no one's playing it. And that's terrifying. I really would like to hear some info on this. But as far as what I would rather have on my stream, I started with wanting good fights. I was only doing champion battles. I was doing the 4 battles and then not using chain shots because I was saving all of my chain shots for the champion battles because the sloop has made chain shots almost irrelevant and kind of a waste, frankly. So only doing champion battles, and that was fun. I was getting goofy fights with some open crews, some like decent fights. And then the more I thought about it, I kind of was getting FOMO because, with Flotsam and some other creators and stuff, like if this really is the problem where not enough people are playing, I better get that curse.
Yeah.
I better hurry the hell up, because if the worst case scenario happens where this is working as intended and just nobody's playing it, it's going to be impossible to find a match in a month or two. So I now have flipped, and and this is something I've been ranting about on Twitter and in my stream, because every 2 seconds, someone in chat, what's your highest streak? Dude, what's your highest streak? It is constant, because other streamers have been, posting their incredibly, 50, 60, 100 streaks. And the point I've been trying to make is that the skill-based matchmaking stuff isn't working. I'm queuing up against someone who's probably never soloed in their life with all the swabby cosmetics, who I can get 2 hits on board and sink in 30 seconds. So having a super high streak isn't necessarily as impressive as it sounds. Sure, if you're getting 100 streak without a single loss, that is impressive, because I would say, 1% of my fights have actually seemed like the skill-based matchmaking might be working, where I've had a really good fight.
Mm-hmm.
But it's now I'm just saying screw it, and I'm just gunning for the curses now, just in case.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to think I'm pretty optimistic on the feature, but I've just in case. I don't want to miss those curses, so I am full gunning for them now.
Mm-hmm. We expect some sort of flexibility with this matchmaking system. It should be fluid, and they should be able to change the parameters on the fly to really make it a smooth experience. And I think if it does continue this way with inconsistencies, players will be asking for better parameters to find matches rather than finding good fights, especially like you said, with the concerns that the feature might die with not enough support or the right fixes.
Maybe just be super helpful to be able to see what your ratio is. What is your rating? Because that's all hidden.
Yeah.
You can do the math if you like look up your numbers and stuff. But if you were able to see your ratio and the person you're against, we would know, we'd have such a better idea whether or not this is working.
Yeah, because you obviously have instances as well where you come against a good crew and you just get a good broad off and you end them. Like, it can happen, can't it? And you think,
for sure. But
why am I paired
you definitely
with
know
this shitter, you know? But they could be like an NAL player that's, you know, just got a bad. They took a bad broad, if that makes sense. So yeah, the matchmaking times are definitely contentious, especially with invading.
They don't feel natural,
or especially when you're being invaded. I feel like the ebb and flow is worse than when you're invading someone else. But some clarity would be nice next week for everyone, really. But it'd be nice for partners. But you know, everyone, Rare should come out and say like, "Oh, we're having issues with this. We'd look to fix them in the next patch or something."
Yeah, because the more info you can get to players who are trying PvP for the first time, the better. Because if they know that this isn't working as intended, they might be like, all right, I'll check back in a week, give it another shot. But if they're just in the dark, they're probably just going to throw this whole season in the trash and not even come back until season 9 or at all. So I'm very surprised to hear that, as far as I know, we've got no info on whether or not this is working as intended.
Yes, maybe Rare don't even know. They haven't figured out the problem.
True. I was very surprised to even have the matchmaking work day one at all. You know, besides the long queue times, but yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Cool. We're a bit pressed for time, so we'll fly through the next topics as best we can. Entering other player battles, do we like it, or do you think it should just be a 1v1 scenario?
I like it because I think the heart of Sea of Thieves is the shenanigans where you never know what's going to happen. And I've had some really funny experiences, like running into friends. I ran into one streamer and I was like, oh my God, what's up? And then someone else shot over and it was a different streamer and we all were in the same area at the same time. I think that's the core of Sea of Thieves, is just the sandbox shenanigans. So I do think it's a good thing and it should stay in the game, but I definitely can feel for the people trying PvP for the first time and feeling like it's unfair if they're getting ganged up on. And that's not talking about Alliance servers trying to cheese it and stuff like that. That's a different topic, but yeah.
The next one on the list.
Yeah, I know. I just saw it.
but it's not only players that you mess up if it's their first time, but also if you're a bit experienced and you want to get accommodation for a 10 streak and you're on, I don't know, streak 8, and a sweaty galleon comes and, you know, sinks you while you're fighting another sloop, that feels unfair, man. That feels unfair.
Yeah, I definitely sympathize. I do think it's kind of like it's kind of black and white a little bit. I feel like, where it's, you know, you have cursed cannonballs and these things that are inherently RNG, even though you do need to know when to use them. But it's how far do we want to take it? Do we want to make this purely a 1v1, no RNG involved, whether that be cursed cannonballs or being third partied, or just let Sea of Thieves be Sea of Thieves? Because you're going for streaks, but you're also playing Sea of Thieves. You know, you can hit bird kegs in the water, which happened to me, and just sink instantly. I feel like it should make streaks that much more impressive, which right now with the matchmaking, they're not really. But like, oh, you got a 10 streak and didn't hit a bird keg, or you didn't get third partied, or you didn't get, you know, whatever other rare thing that can happen. I think it's part of the game.
All right, fair enough. But what if a Megalodon or Kraken would appear?
I don't think they
Next
can.
topic.
I don't think they can spawn in the circle anymore.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
I get what you're saying. Yeah, that might be the line for me, which kind of nullifies my argument a little bit. But
it's good to know that that's your line. That's fair enough. Like I think my line is about the same as your line. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's PvE entering the PvP mode, whereas a third party is still PvP, you know?
Yeah, but the bird keg is also PvE, right? So, and you agree with that? I agree with that too, by the way, but still.
Yeah.
He's nitpicking now, isn't he?
Yeah, I guess so.
Let's get Genie back.
Yeah.
Different levels of PvE.
All right.
In terms, though, I think what is really smart about this is that because it's a faction war, you can go and help your allies out, and that really plays to the war for the sea motifs. Like we finish a battle right up north where you spawn near the Smuggler's Bay, what have you, and we sailed right the way south to help our Reaper brethren out. They sunk, unfortunately, by the time we got there, but we got revenge. And we did the same for a solo sloop where this guy just kept running away. The guy was really good, actually. He probably could have beaten the Guardian guy who we were against, could have beaten the solo slooper. But we killed him for him, and then we got invaded by a brig, and our sloop friend helped us out. And I think that was a really good moment, even though all those parties were pretty pissed off about being third party. I feel different when it happens to me. Which actually bleeds into the next topic, which we've heard a bit about. I've seen it on Reddit. I've seen it on Twitter. We've got alliance servers and alliances, so 1, 2, 3 ships cheesing this mode where they will, for those who don't know, there'll be defenders, say they all vote up to be guardians of Athena's fortune, and they will wait 2 or 3 ships at a time for someone to merge, to invade, and they'll just zerg, they'll rush them, and they'll just use their terrible numbers to overwhelm people. Do I need to ask how we all feel about this?
Not really. I mean, I kind of have a chip on my shoulder that, like, I know it's a lot of work to try and fix alliance servers, but even just like coming out against them publicly would be huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a good thing. It's never a good thing. And like you were saying earlier with your example of being third party, for every person that's complaining about being like third party naturally outside of an alliance server, there's exactly one other person who got the assist from the third party who's saying, thank God that ship came in and helped me.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that balances out. But then you have alliance servers who just, as always, ruin everything. And it just blows my mind that this alliance servers haven't been addressed in any way, or even like condemned or anything. And it's I haven't encountered it as far as I know so far in solo queues, but I have seen it going around, and yeah, it's definitely a big problem.
Mm-hmm. With I think the thing that rubs me the wrong way, I think it was Mino he's one of the first people to get the skeleton curse. I think if you don't know who Mino is, he's a very, very good Sea of Thieves player, and he's recently got the skeleton curse, and I think he sunk twice out of, I think it was like 120 odd ships. And both times was because of this cheese. He got zerged. And I think that's really awful to have a stain on his record for people who are cheating the game. And there's elements of Sea of Thieves sort of exploits that, like the silent board, like the captaincy supplies, people put a little blind eye to. But when you've got, in some cases, people taking money to run a server and boosting they're scum, essentially. I'll just call them scum. The people who run that server are scum. And lie about it to their customers as well. They will abuse this, and they will hand these out, and they'll make a profit off this. I sort of understand why people choose to go into alliance servers. You're a pussy if you do that. Sorry.
There you go.
But if you go to an alliance server, you're a big old fanny. There you go. I said it. But I understand, like, you want that skeleton curse, and you won't get good to do it. You'll just pay some scum £5 a year or whatever they make from it.
Yeah. I'm cheaper.
Yeah, Blubber's cheaper. We'll sort those out for you.
Well, that's a really good point that I haven't even considered, of this mode emboldening the people who are making money from that, because you already see people on Reddit and all these other places saying, how can I get progress without having to shoot a single cannonball?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't even think about that. It's such a big problem.
But it's the same as boosting. Like, you pay for someone else to do your stuff. If you pay for someone else to do something on your account, that's not affecting anyone else. It's a bit low, but it's not on a huge scale where people are raking it in and having quarterly meetings and investor meetings about how many alliance servers you started. But by the by, it ruins the system. But what I would like to see is it gets so bad for them, they've sunk so many people, that you get the sweatiest of galleons merging in, or sloopers, and absolutely tearing these people apart. Those videos will be coming out in the next few months, I'm sure of it. But yeah, there we go. We needed an alliance server run. Blubber, do I need to ask your opinion on it?
I don't associate with alliance servers, so there you go.
Thank you. There we go. It's fine getting a boat on the server for community day so you can get some golds together. You're not taking away the risk. But actively removing that element of challenge and charging people for it and calling people toxic and all the shit that comes with it, it's just scummy. So yeah, if you if you're in the comments and you're a fan of mine, please unsubscribe from my channel. No.
Yeah, subscribe to mine.
You had a good run.
I had a good run. You had a good run. But this is a Reaper-only channel, not Reaper runners or Alliance servers. But yeah, this is a really good topic, actually. And I think we all agree again. Supply gathering when you sink. We're not a fan of it, are we, guys?
No.
It does bring in that element of adventure where you have to supply up, but going back to what you were saying, Blurbs, about on demand and matchmaking times, having to supply up so you're competent in battle and you don't run out of supplies at any ship size. Rare should definitely add, even if it's loads of supplies, like 1,000 of each thing. At least then people can just hop in and have PvP on demand, and it's mainly skill based. Then
it's the antithesis of PvP on demand, where it's not really on demand if you have to spend 30 minutes, depending on how much you want to supply up between matches. I'm okay with supplying up before my first battle because you spawn in at the outpost, I can grab what I need and go. But I do think they need to have better ways to supply up between battles that are much easier. I know they have the barrels floating, which is what I've been doing, is just gathering all of the floating barrels around and then requeuing. But I definitely think, after a hard battle, be like, I want to keep this streak going, and I feel like I'm on a hot streak, but now I got to go sail to the nearest outpost or seafort or whatever and like gather supplies. It kind of kills the momentum.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, absolutely. I think the best way to do it, personally, I don't know if they should add stuff beforehand, like just magically on your ship. I think adding better ways to supply up between battles if you win, I think is probably the best way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. Blubber?
I think just when you dive down, you should get, arena supplies added to your already existing supplies, and that's it.
I think differently, actually. I think they should be, your supplies from adventure should be gated away to a different, like locked away basically in a chest, and then you get arena supplies and you can only use those ones. That's not the arena amounts, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that works too, yeah.
And with the Curse Cannonball changes, it doesn't matter because they're really rare anyway, so it would be nice to bring them with you. Maybe you could take like 5 Curse Cannonballs or something, but that's semantics.
What you have on your person, you can do the curses, and that will be the difference.
20 each.
Yeah, I mean, well...
or 20 per crew, should I say, if you're on a galley.
Yeah.
For me, I think this is the thing I want Rare to address, hopefully in the next patch, but the way Rare works, it usually takes a few months for this to happen, so hopefully Season 9. Moving on then, we're all in agreement there, and I think everyone listening will be. A lot of people have been encountering running, specifically when you're playing sloops. I haven't had this yet, and I don't think you have, Blubber.
Nope.
Blurbs, have you encountered any running in the circle? Because you mentioned that people...
Yes.
There shouldn't be the shrinking circle.
So one of the biggest things people have had issues with Sea of Thieves is spawn camping, right? And these are the same people who think if you could magically roll up your ladders, they would be gods at the game. And this comes from the fact that Naval has a buffer where when you make a decision in Naval or when the enemy does, you have to wait, a second, or half a second for that cannonball to make its way over and the consequence for whatever decision you made to happen. So it gives this kind of false feeling of having control over the battle. Mm-hmm. It's got this buffer zone where you feel like you're better than you are and that you've got more agency in the fight. Whereas when someone's on your ship in front of you, they are not only in your face, but it's extremely personal and feels way worse when you get killed and spawn camped. And making the circle come in over time would literally only enforce the out of bounds meta, which people are already complaining about because, again, someone's on their ship in their face, spawn killing them and driving them out of bounds. So that would just make it times 10. The strategy to win is, you can just run until the circle gets super small and then board them and drive them out of bounds and spawn camp them. You don't even have to shoot a single cannonball. It really would be a huge nerf to naval combat because you wouldn't have to. You just have to wait it out, which is the problem with runners right now. Is I've encountered two types: people who I have no idea what the hell they're queuing up for this mode because they're just running, and I think they're just trying to like expect me to quit so they can get a win. And I think the circle, first of all, is way too forgiving. It needs to be, I think the way to do it is to make it smaller and less forgiving, because you can go so far out of the circle before you actually sink. I think that's the biggest thing, is make the arena smaller and less forgiving. But the other type I've encountered are people who, are like double gun sweats, who queue up with no supplies. They just run. And I encountered one guy who was bragging about running. He's like, I'm not going to stop running. And he just attempted to board me like 100 times. And statistically, at some point, he's going to get a board and then attempt to spawn camp me and drive me out of bounds, which, he almost did, but I broke the spawn camp. And then I just quit because I'm like, if I broke the spawn camp, I'm just gonna have to chase him for another 30 minutes to try and either naval or board him. And he's just gonna start the whole process over again. So yeah, making the circle shrink is just gonna make that worse. And yeah, running is absolutely an issue.
Fair enough. I've only really encountered it when people realize they're outplayed and they play for time. They haven't like run for the whole thing. They've gone a full like billow away to almost recover. But
I think that's fine if you need to like fully reset and then you come straight back.
That's fine. I've had the instance as well on sloops where they'd always send over a border, and that was the only way. That must be how they bully people in adventure.
Yes,
by spawn camping people. But when it comes to naval, they can hit the broadside of a
That's the worst.
But yeah, I think I disagree with the shrinking boundaries because, like you said, PvP pirate to pirate is that's what it should be, not player versus player, pirate versus pirate.
CQC.
It's very personal, isn't it? Like, this is a really macabre comparison, but shooting someone is less personal than stabbing someone, right? It's the same concept with boarding and spawn camping someone until they sink, compared to sinking them with cannonballs and never boarding. They do need to do something about it, but also like, what can they do about it without ruining the mode? That's my opinion on it.
I just think making the circle smaller and less forgiving, not too small, but smaller. And like out of bounds is always going to be probably the meta, but I think there's definitely some tweaking to be done to make running less viable, but still maintaining, a decent enough space to have a good fight.
I think it's like 4 squares or something, or 2 squares outside of the ring before you sink.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's stupid, isn't it?
And make the ring visible too. Yes. Like in the actual world,
like a glow, like a fire, or like red circle,
or just maybe. like a shrine glow, like in the water.
Yes, something like that, so you can visibly see it without checking the map, and that's better for relaying intel. But I suppose looking at the map is part of it. But then again, doesn't matter because you're warned that you're out of bounds way before you even get hurt by it. So bit of a moot point. Blubber, anything to add about the running?
No, I agree with you guys.
Cool. Quickly, guys, is PvE easier now? Are PvE players going to be bothered less?
They said so, but to be fair, I need to try it for myself.
I mean, obviously, I don't PvE, but I think I've heard from other people that for now they're being bothered less, but I definitely don't think that's going to hold up. And again, the bigger concerns with are people actually playing this mode. Less and less people are going to be playing as the season progresses, meaning more people are going to be just in normal adventure attacking PvEers. But ultimately, yes, I think if you look at all numbers, of course, it's going to be easier because the PvP obsessed people are going to be grinding this new mode. But, you're never going to be totally safe. It's Sea of Thieves.
I can also see a lot of the full Reaper outfit brig crews that just bully solo sloopers getting pissed off that they're getting sunk by better players and going back to normal adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
Just shouting slurs at them and spawn camping them. Like, there's always a brig with the full Reaper set, like just nosing everyone, and they're like, oh, we've just run into some competent players and we got our asses handed to them. Those are the kind of people that will still bully the PvEers. No, it's not bullying, is it? Unless you're like toxic, but
yeah,
that's the phrase I've seen used on Reddit and Twitter, that you bully people. I've seen a few people complaining and calling PvP players bullies still, but that's by the by. I do want to cover this topic because I don't want to skip over it, and it should be the last one, really. So this one is a little bit of a stealth thing from Rare. Seasons are going to be now 4 months long, from what we can tell. There's 4 months to Season 8, and Drew said on the podcast that they're back to their cadence after Season 8 release because of the whole delay fiasco. That's not true. We're back to less seasons per year now. Firstly, how do we think about Blubber? I know what you're going to say, but how do we feel that seasons are now?
What am I going to say?
You're happy with it. You're happy with it because Season 8 is amazing.
Shit. You do know me too well.
Yeah, I do. You're predictable. Which is a good argument, to be fair. Blubber, why are you fine with that?
Just fine. Seasons longer, it's fine. Like, Sea of Thieves is such a good place for me right now. Like, every time I feel like playing Sea of Thieves, because it's not every day, but there's always something for me to do. And now with Captaincy coming out, and now with this new system, I'm good. Like, I don't need these updates like every single time to keep me busy because there's already enough for me. So there you go.
Blurbs, I think you're gonna have a differing opinion from what I can tell.
I mean, ultimately, I would like new content as fast as possible, obviously, but I don't even think I really am able to have an opinion. It's going to take them as long as it takes them to make the stuff that they're making. So, I mean, I hope it doesn't get any longer, but I think 3 months was a good. I think 3 months was the best feeling gap. I mean, if the season actually, isn't like season 5 or something like that, where it actually has content to be done. I mean, however long it takes them to make it, I don't think there's anything we can really do to change that.
I think if seasons are like Season 8 and they're 4 months long, that's fine. 3 months would be ideal because that's how long a season is in real life. But if it's in the vein of Season 5 or let's say Season 7 in this regard, 4 months is far too long. And this is where adventures come into it. Adventures are obviously taking a part of that. And Rare have the numbers saying that we all like adventures, that everyone logs on to play them. They're the reason why we're having longer seasons. Because as soon as they were thrown into the mix, we had, 4 delays overall in terms of content. So we had Season 7 delayed twice. The new adventure for Season 7, I think it was Hunter's Cry, wasn't it? It was delayed for 2 weeks. And Season 8 got delayed as well. As soon as adventures come in, the last time we got a delay was 1 day for Heart of Fire, and that was literally, I think, a Wednesday to a Thursday update. As soon as adventures come in, it all goes to shit. So now I think Rare have reevaluated this. I think they've seen adventures as more valuable than they are in terms of getting new players to sign up. But my concern is that as a content creator, the cadence, not the cadence, what's the word I'm looking for now? The momentum of Season 6 was killed by a long Season 6, and Season 7 wasn't enough to carry a whole season. Whereas Season 8 is, but if we go into another Season 5 for 4 months, we're waiting 8 months for content there that people want to play. Season 5 has its merits where it adds stuff, basic stuff for people to enjoy, and its quality of life and its accessibility stuff. But for the average player, that's not what people play Sea of Thieves for. People want the big Season 8 reveals. They want Captaincy. They want Legends of the Veil. They want Pirate's Life. So we'll have to see what Season 9 is revealed to be. I hope it's a bit more blockbuster than what we think.
Yeah, it's no secret I hate adventures. I genuinely just I get they're trying to pad seasons with extra content, but it's kind of a 2-part thing of like Rare's the only one who has those numbers. If they're seeing new players come into the game just for adventures, then that has merit. But ultimately, I think sure, maybe in the short term, adventures are working out for them, but putting that amount of dev work into something they're scrapping after 2 weeks just feels like a total waste. And this might be controversial in this podcast. There is way too much of a focus on lore. I can't stand it. I'm not necessarily a lore guy, but I think Sea of Thieves, did great originally with giving lore through just the world and in-game mechanics rather than adventures, which could just be a journal, a 2-page journal saying the things that happened. Like it's ridiculous how hard they go on this stuff when I think they've diverged, especially since Pirate's Life, from the launch vibes that Sea of Thieves had, where it was a sandbox with goofy mechanics and everyone wanted to play it because it was just so fun to be in there and goof around and interact with these other players. But the hyper focus on lore since Pirate's Life has taken away from that and has kind of made it into a way less of that kind of game. And you have games like DayZ and all these other games that decades later are still going because there's so many mechanics and ways to interact with other players that I think if Rare doubled down less on lore and adventures and put more time into just enriching the sandbox, even at the smallest level. The example I give is let us hide in treasure chests, literally be attached to them and someone can pick you up and carry you around without realizing you're inside. That's, I can't imagine that'd be very difficult to do, but that would be so much fun. And there's so many examples like that they could use. Any extra dev time to just enrich the sandbox, I think would be huge for the future of the game. And I just don't think adventures and the reception I've seen with the community I talk to every day or across forums, I don't think they've been that great.
I think there's been a turning point with adventures where I think Hunter's Cry really spun it around and really made adventures a negative thing. I think Forsaken Hunter started that with the whole sailing times and people saw it as quite boring and the whole spoilers and all that sort of stuff. And then Hunter's Cry came out and there was a fiasco of the Spawn campaign that started the downtick. And before we go to Blubber quickly, I just wanted to say that Sea of Thieves' story is very good on paper, and it has been. But I think I wouldn't even say since A Pirate's Life, since Adventures has started, and I'm going to be harsh here, but it's because I love the story. Sorry, Mike and Co and Chris. But the potential of the narrative is being squandered by these temporary adventures because the gameplay doesn't do the Tall Tales justice, which lots of people love Tall Tales because of how beautifully crafted they are.
I love Tall Tales.
Exactly.
I'm not a lore guy.
Blurbs likes Tall Tales, guys.
Yeah, there you go. Put it on the box.
But when you're putting in this, I'm not going to say small amount of effort, but less dev time into a story mission because it's being removed after 2 weeks, the product is automatically just there's a ceiling on it that you're never going to be able to breach. And Sea of Thieves' world is too magical and unique to a point that you shouldn't be telling these stories through an hour missions that involve you looking at a lantern all the time. It needs to go back to those Tall Tales. So this Tall Sailor season would be much better for it to stay permanently, but the writing has also suffered because of these episodic adventures, and I don't think it's as good as it used to be during even Pirate's Life. Blubber, what's your views on it before we wrap up the podcast?
I really don't complain. I'm totally fine with how they're doing it. I like the adventures, like looking forward to them. I agree with the story, the story hasn't always been as what we have wanted.
So you actually enjoy adventures and don't really have any critiques about them?
Well, I do have critiques about them. I make reviews about them. You can find them on my YouTube channel, Captain Blubber.
But I guess you do enjoy adventures.
I do enjoy them a lot. Yeah, I really like the lore, man. Bye, Blurbs.
I'm very negative as a Sea of Thieves YouTuber. Critical is the correct term, but I am very slowly, depending on how this next arc goes, I'm slowly moving towards that camp where I don't like adventures. And yeah, I think I'll leave it at that for another day. We can talk for hours about that.
That's a downer. That's a downer to end the podcast on. You don't like adventures?
Well,
that's terrible.
I mean, I just set up a gag there where I left the channel because of Blubber, and
I noticed. Ray didn't notice. He just fucking DC'd.
Oh, I didn't even know. We'll have to add that in like a little clip. But yeah, we are here for time now, and we've had a good old run, and I think it's been a great discussion, if I do say so myself. So with that, we've come towards the end of the podcast. I'd like to take this time to remind our viewers we are also available on Spotify and Amazon Music, where you can download it and listen to us on the go. I'd like to thank our amazing guest for coming on today and talking about PvP. So, Blurbs, where can listeners find your content and socials?
You just do twitch.tv/blurbs, youtube.com/blurbs. I'm just going to be grinding out to try and get the curse before the world explodes. And I just do general PvP commentary and tips and stuff on YouTube, so you can check that out too.
Brilliant. Go subscribe on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube, give him some bits, some tips, whatever. Tell him that you hate him because he doesn't like lore from us. Don't do that.
Yep.
Be nice to Blurbs.
No, you can do it. You can do it.
He's a nice guy, and definitely listen to his PvP tips if you're on the fence about Season 8, because he's very useful. With that being said as well, my wonderful co-host, where can viewers find you, even if it is a bit obvious if they're listening on YouTube at the moment?
Yeah, so obvious. I'm not even going to tell them. They know where to find me.
If you're listening on Spotify, you can find Captain Blubber at Captain Blubber on YouTube. Just search his name, and you should be able to find his channel. And of course, you can find me, a Shiny Ray, on YouTube, or just pop in a Shiny Ray in YouTube. You'll find me, or Captaincy Update, some shit like that. Or you can find me at a Shiny Rayquaza on Twitter. So, thanks for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave us a rating if you're on Spotify, and of course, sing some ships.
Bye.
Bye.